So how does the locals add another format? When it comes to adding another format, or even for players to try a different format, there's always some type of friction. It could be like the card pull, it could be like you've never done this before, the complexity, the card accessibility, etc. And also if you're going to a locals for the first time, there might be some friction behind that too. In today's video, I want to share a positive experience that I experienced with the locals that touches on these points. The locals is in the Chicagoland area, called paper or plastic. And what's been interesting about this locals is that for the longest time, they've been playing the standard format since COVID ended and people can go in person now to places. And they have recently added premium as an additional format for players to play. So the question you may be asking yourself is, how does this even happen? To give you some backstory as well for this locals, once people were able to go into public places without having to wear a mask, I started looking for game stores again to play locally in the area. I found this place and was definitely welcomed even before they knew that I was Commander Jaime. There are actually 3 things that I look for in a particular environment that I think are really key to make or break a new player transitioning into a new locals. So the first thing is that 1, are they welcoming? 2, are they even having fun? 3, is there good sportsmanship when they play? So hitting on number 1 with being welcomed, I went in there as a new player, essentially not making it obvious that I was Commander Jaime. I was just typically like any other player that would come in and like, hey, I see you guys are playing standard. I like to join your tournaments and your locals kind of deal. Right off the back, they were very welcoming. And I saw players having fun as well, which transitions into the second point where they were playing with the decks that they wanted to play, but also they were having fun with competitive decks too. So it was a mix of both actually. While I was playing in the standard tournaments, as those first couple of weeks, I did notice that they had good sportsmanship. One, they were patient, they were understanding, they were, fun to play with. I know we've had moments sometimes, usually in regionals, that you might come across that one player that is just like no fun whatsoever to play against and they're just so serious. If you're gonna go to a locals, you might as well have fun, right? And I know that's not everybody that may have experienced a different type of experience going to their first locals, but you can make it much better for the next person, especially if you found a locals that did welcome you later on, that now you can just help out, you can help grow that community. Now, after a couple weeks and then maybe a month or two, more and more players at the local area started to find out that I was Commander Jaime. I've been a consistent YouTuber, active person in the community, helping out where I can, that type of deal. However, I did want to say that my influence did not impact the desire for them to get premium as an additional format. And this is what I mean is that, hey, I asked players if they play premium or V premium, and only a few did and a few didn't, but I didn't push it at most at that point. It wasn't until later on with the Chronojet Stride deck sets, and of course even the Messiah one that came out, it started sparking an interest. Later on, we eventually got the History Collection as well. So more and more players were starting to look into premium and decided to make their own decks as well. I had a few players that wanted to play against me, get a few games in, and also just ask for my input since I do have experience in that format too. And this past December, it wasn't until December that stores were getting sanctioned by the Bushi Navi app as well. That when they started applying for that, the business owner had to ask them if they wanted to include premium, and pretty much everybody's like, yeah, why not? Add it to the list, right? I was out of town during this time, so I had no influence whatsoever. When I came back in January, I found out that they were hosting their first premium event in January 21st. I was super ecstatic, and so with me, I at least shared it on social media like YouTube, Twitter, etc. for any Chicagoland people that could actually make it or were interested. So the first turnout was 10 players, and that could be good or that could be not as great depending on your perspective, but what I appreciate about that is that it's a good place to start at least. Furthermore, this can grow over time, just like with any of the locals. Not every locals is blessed to have a big showing at first. In fact, sometimes it starts with a few players and then over time it'll grow bigger and bigger. Also, 3 of the players were new to the shop as well, since they actually saw my social media and also just chatting with them too, since I know them as well personally. And some of the standard players locally were participating in the tournament as well. To further incentivize too, I actually added vintage pricing like relics from the past from G era. So some of you may recognize these playmats back in the day. Overall, it was a great experience because it got a lot of people seeing like a different perspective on like what premium brings to the table compared to standard. And also like some of the rulings came out with like Shiranui domination, for example, too. And just like G-Guard plays and of course different timings and effects with other clans and just things that they're not used to in standard. I remember vividly seeing one of the players just having that expression. It's like, wow, that was better than I expected. whatever that expectation was, it was still better than what he expected, which is a good sign in my opinion as well. I will give the credit to all those players though at the locals and of course the business owner to get this event even going in the first place. I didn't have a much say in it or anything. I just wanted to help out where I could at that point, but I'm glad that it worked out and it actually had a fun time. They're actually doing another one this February, and they're going to do once a month, at least for the first couple of months, and then figure out if they can do more later on, if they get a bigger turnout. I just wanted to share this experience because I know some other players have similar situations or other local situations as well that can relate to this to an extent. And so I wanted this to be at least something that you can get some encouragement or even some understanding at that point. I feel having positive experience to share helps with other people be more open-minded to like different formats as well, or just even like be mindful of new people that come to the store as well. And let me know in the comments about this kind of stuff. Like, do you guys like this kind of like stories to tell? Or even your first locals experience, like how'd that go for you? Or one that you think that was really done well in your eyes that a lot of locals should do moving forward as well. On to the next one, amigos. Bye.